Hello horror hounds and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be doing something completely different. It's not a horror movie review, it is the horror tag as the title says. So what I'm going to do is I've googled a few questions about horror movies in general, so I can tell you guys a little bit about my taste in horror, my likes and dislikes and all that kind of stuff. If you are a fan of any particular movie that I mention in this, please drop me a comment below, that'll be great. And yeah, let's get this video as a place to discuss everything that we love about horror movies. So what I'll do is, if you guys want to do the horror tag as well, I'll put the questions that I've googled into the description box, and then you can have fun and answer those two with me. Okay, so let's begin. So the first question is, what was the first horror movie you remember seeing? So for myself, I always loved the kind of darker side of movies when I was growing up. So arguably I would say that my first technical horror movie would be either Return to Oz or Nicholas Roeg's The Witches. Those films had a lot of impact on me as a child, and I do believe they did generate my interest and pull me more towards the horror genre as a whole. The Witches was more impactful for me as that was the first film that ever scared me and ever gave me nightmares, but because I couldn't get it out of my head, I wanted to know more, and then I started to take notice of all these creepy video covers in the video store, and I was fascinated by Hellraiser and all that stuff. So I would definitely say it's thankful to Nicholas Roeg's The Witches in particular, and I think it's still a very, very sinister movie to this day. But if I'm going to say actual traditional horror movie that isn't aimed at children, I would say the first 18 rated horror movies I watched was Scream and A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. And at the time I watched them as a bit of an endurance test just to see would I be scared, but for some reason I just ended up falling in love with them, and then I just wanted to see as much horror movies as I could, and it just all kind of went from there. Second question is, what is your favourite horror movie? Now, obviously this is a really, really tough question because there are so many amazing films out there that have struck a chord over the years, but there's always one film that I come back to, and I have to say that my favourite horror movie is John Landis's An American Werewolf in London. I can watch that movie over and over again. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It's got a great cast. It's really, really darkly funny. It's got the best visual transformation scene in a horror movie ever. It completely speaks for itself. The soundtrack is amazing. I grew up with this movie, and it's absolutely just incredible, and I think for a lot of fans, An American Werewolf in London is the one that is quite a popular top film for a lot of people. Next up is, what is your favourite horror subgenre? So for me it is the slasher movie. I have such a craving for slasher movies all the time. I grew up with them again, obviously kick-started with the Scream and the Elm Street franchises, and then I just watched more and more and more. They're either a bit of a guilty pleasure, a bit of an addiction for me. The reason I just enjoy them because I just love that kind of murder mystery aspect. But I do love a good campy slasher. Where it's all tongue-in-cheek and there's some inventive kills in there as well. So yeah, I love Friday the 13th and all that kind of stuff. And so that, yeah, slashers would definitely be my favourite subgenre of horror, but that's led me into be more appreciative of giallo, which is kind of considered the more prelude and sophisticated version of a slasher film. and obviously inspired a lot of the American slasher films in late years. So I'm definitely into giallo films. Other than that, I would say I really like possession horror films. They used to really, really creep me out at one stage. Not so much now, but if I get a good ghost film, then yeah, I'm pretty happy with that too. So but I will go with slasher movies. We just want a killer lurking in the shadows, ready to slice and dice some unsuspecting victims, and give me a movie like that, and normally I'm pretty happy as long as it's not like too terrible. Fourth question is, what subgenre scares you the most? So in this case, I'm going to have to go with psychological horror. I think it's things that are based in true life. So anything like true crime, so like an adaptation of a real case that happened, that affects me quite a lot. I struggled to watch a movie called Snowtown a few years ago, and there is a video on this channel where I think I talk about it in relation to seeing it at a horror festival. So if it films really, really bleak, harrowing films, I really do get scared by. A lot of them I avoid. I'm never going to watch Megan is Missing or The Girl Next Door, things like that. So it's more like really grim torture, psychological horror, or anything that's based in reality. Those are the sorts of films that do frighten me the most. So the next question is, what is the last horror film that I watched that scared me? So I have two, so I'm going to say an old one and a recent one. So the older one is Visiting Hours, which of course I have reviewed, so if you go and check that out, I will put a link in the description box for you guys. Visiting Hours was an early 80s Canadian slasher film, and in what it does, it's just really, really terrifying, very, very grim, humourless, and the killer is unmasked, you know who he is, and it's just that kind of situation that you could imagine occurring in real life. And for someone to like break into a hospital, a place of rest and recovery, that is quite a frightening concept. So that definitely freaked me out quite a lot, so much that I needed to like get it out and talk about it with you guys. And then the most recent film that really, really got under my skin and unsettled me is a film called We Go On. It's available to view on Shudder. I saw it at Celluloid Screams last year. It's such a slow burning film, but it had one moment in it which I won't spoil if you haven't seen the movie, but this moment really startled me, and it was kind of long lasting in my mind after viewing it. So yeah, definitely We Go On, because it's deals with the concept of, is there life after death, and all that kind of freaky stuff, and it's really subtly scary, and that's what I really love. Question 6 is, who is your ultimate scream queen? Hands down, I am going to have to go with Sarah Michelle Gellar. Of course, she is the kick-ass Buffy the Vampire Slayer, one of the most influential female characters on TV. But I was always a big fan of Sarah's career within horror movies, particularly I Know What You Did Last Summer, Scream 2, and then she was later on in The Grudge. So I always think she's excellent in horror movies. She does play the heroine and the victim in equal measure. She gives very, very powerful performances. So that's why I would say I would go for Sarah Michelle Gellar out of all the fantastic female actresses we have got within horror. But yeah, she is definitely my number one. So question 7 is a really difficult one. It's to talk about a horror concept that I'd like to see. Obviously a lot, horror has been, everything's been there, done that to a degree. So to think of something really, really original is a difficult one. But I'm going to say that I do prefer horror movies where the characters are really well written, so that you, regain like an empathetic feeling towards them, and then it makes their deaths more impactful when they actually happen. I do like horror movies that do that, rather than just have throwaway characters and then one-dimensional characters. I'm not for that. I do like a bit of depth and something to really grip me into the film. So I would say I'd like to see more of that. As a concept, well, what actually drew me to the Soska Sisters' American Mary before I'd seen the movie many years ago was the concept of body modification, and I thought that was something I hadn't seen done before myself, so I thought it was really unusual. So I kind of like things like that. Maybe something to do with like plastic surgery. Definitely like along those lines. Something a bit dark and a bit warped. So I definitely would like to see something like that. Number 8 is what is my favourite on-screen kill. Wow, this is, again, really, really tough because I have seen so many amazing set pieces in horror movies, so many inventive death scenes, and it's really, really difficult to narrow it down. I did actually write my top death scenes on my WordPress blog last year, so again I will link that review in the description box below for you guys. But my number one, again, would have to be the death scene of Helen Shivers in I Know What You Did Last Summer. And the reason for that is because it's quite ongoing and unrelenting. It's highly suspenseful. There isn't much gore involved as such, but because she's a character that the audience grow to love, you're really, really rooting for her. And the problem is she gets so close to safety, and then they rip it away from us like so fast. So I think that for me that is my ultimate favourite horror movie death scene, because it is quite heartbreaking when it happens, and it's just so cleverly crafted, just everything about it, the atmosphere, the music, the claustrophobia, just all of it. And the fact that she just gets so close to surviving, and then nope, they just go for the jugular there and kill her off for us, which is a pretty bold move, and makes it one of the most powerful death scenes in horror in my opinion. Question number 9 is what is my favourite horror franchise? The franchise that I'm going to choose here is probably going to be a little bit obscure, not so much to general horror fans that watch this, who appreciate 80s horror like I do, but my favourite horror franchise is Sleepaway Camp. I just love how bizarre they are. I just off chance decided to watch Sleepaway Camp a few years ago, and I was like, this film is weirdly engrossing in such a kind of strange way. It's not like a conventional horror film, and obviously I think it's because they just do stuff that's so out of left field and it's a bit bizarre, and of course the ending was a big surprise at the time, and it did something a little bit different compared to other slashers of its day, which it needs to be commended for. And then of course you've got the sequels, and they're so much fun. They're just like really cheesy camping slasher movies, and Angela is crazy and she's just brilliant. I just love all of them because they're just so silly and so much fun. And so I'm definitely going to go say Sleepaway Camp is my favourite horror franchise. And the final question, again, is so difficult because it is who is your favourite horror director? I'm inclined to go with Wes Craven here because he was the director that first introduced me to the world of horror movies and got me, it was his films that started it off. Maybe if I hadn't seen his films I wouldn't be the fan I am now, so I owe a lot to Wes Craven. I can watch his films over and over again. Obviously I love the Scream franchise, the Elm Street franchise, The Hills of Eyes, and The Last House on the Left. That's such an interesting and controversial film, and I'm really kind of mixed about that one. So there are there's definitely Wes Craven, but also I have to say Dario Argento, because his films are so aesthetically beautiful, so imaginative. He has amazing scores in them, and you just get so mesmerised by his films, and there's something so creepy and really, really kind of contagious about those films. I absolutely love Dario Argento. And then of course there's John Carpenter. All his films are so different, but then he's got like this sort of thematic thread going through them. They're very atmospheric. they're very subtle in some senses, and very like slow burning, and really excellently written characters, and again amazing scores. So I love John Carpenter too. So yeah, it's a very difficult question there. So yeah, I hope I answered those the best I can. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thought I'd do something a little bit different for this one. And as I say, if you want to do the horror tag, I'd love to hear your what your favourite movies are and all that cool stuff. So thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to, and also check out all my social media links, which again, everything's just going to go down below in that description box. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys soon.